Well, good morning and welcome to my channel. There's no place like your home. Well, thank you for stopping by. It's another beautiful day in the making, and I needed to get some baking done this morning before taking these cookies up to a family member. So I wanted to share this with you. I talk about how to save money, whether you're thrifting for your home furnishing, your clothing, or even saving money definitely with food. And this is one area where I really don't skimp too much on the quality of my ingredients because to me it's just very well worth it to invest that little extra money. So I wanted to share with you, I found this super delicious salted chocolate chip cookie recipe. And the only thing that I had to buy for this to update my stock uh, is the chocolate chips. So I get is it Ghirardelli, and I prefer to work with the milk chocolate. I know the bittersweet chocolate with the different degrees of um, the bitter sweetness, are available as well. So, they're drier, they don't have as much sugar in them, but I do like working with these. And then for this particular recipe too, I got the very good butter with the 85% butter fat. This is just going to give your cookie a rich, full-bodied, nice taste. And again, always good quality ingredients. However, you have to do what really works for you, because either way, you're saving money on not buying packaged baked goods. You're saving yourself with all the chemicals and the preservatives as well. So my cookies are done. I've got about less than a minute for this last remaining bit to come out of the oven, and I'll show you just how beautiful they are. But overall, for a basic recipe, now I doubled this because I wanted the cookies a little bigger. Your basic recipe is 1 1/4 cup of flour. And again, I always spoon and level. On some occasions, I take that extra step and even sift my flour. For this recipe as well, it was just a teaspoon of baking soda. So I mixed the flour and the soda together. I set that aside. And a very important step in baking is always creaming that butter and that sugar together to get it as nice and light and fluffy as possible. Hang on, those cookies are done. So I always I always whip up my butter and sugar a little longer than is required. They usually say 2 to 3 minutes. I do anywhere up to 5. And if you're just a tip, if you're ever beating butter, just getting that done, and you take it that extra length of time, you're going to see the color change. It actually becomes white. So let me show you this last little batch of the salted chocolate chip cookies. And again, getting back to, I creamed my butter, a half of a half of a cup, so that's a stick of butter. And then this recipe calls for a half of a cup of brown sugar, 1/3 plus 2 teaspoons of white sugar. So I've doubled everything. So my flour and soda are set aside. I've creamed my butter and my sugars, and then I added my egg. And I had everything on hand except this butter and the chips. So right there, what a time saving, well, and cost saving venture this has been. And lastly, once the cream, the butter and the sugars and the eggs are creamed, I add that teaspoon of vanilla. So again, for this recipe, I did double the ingredients because I wanted more cookies than the recipe calls for, and I wanted bigger cookies. Lastly, what's going to make this particular cookie unique is the sea salt, which I just happen to have on hand as well. So I didn't have to buy anything, again, other than those two ingredients. So I'm sprinkling these cookies now with the sea salt. And because they're still warm, they're going to absorb this salt into them. There you go. And let's see, I had a few chips left over as well. Now these have been out, so they might be a little melty, but I'm just going to place these on the cookies to finish up using these ingredients. There we go. So really, the cost of this recipe, I bought the better chips, which I prefer. Those were a little over $7, and then the butter for just the 2 sticks was about $4.50. So for $11, I've gotten 40 cookies. I don't think that's a bad deal. If you go to the store, you get 6 cookies, a half of a dozen or a dozen, anywhere between $6 and $12 already. So again, I had all of my ingredients on hand, and I'll let these sit out and cool and then add them to the order. And before I forget, it also called for 1.5 cups of the chocolate chips. And I'm always just a little more generous in giving, that required amount, especially when it comes to the chips or coconut or walnuts in making these. Now, again, just getting back to this, 1.25 cups of flour mixed with a teaspoon of baking soda. Again, you're setting that aside. Cream your stick of butter with a half of a cup of light brown sugar, firmly packed, 1/3 and 2 teaspoons of white sugar. Those are all mixed in and blended and just smoothed and just a beautiful texture. Add your egg. I use, the farm eggs, the brown eggs. But again, you can use any quality of ingredient that you need, because overall it's much better for you than the packaged products that you'll buy. And then a teaspoon of vanilla to give it that richness, that boldness of flavor that works so well with the chocolate, works so well, pulls together with that sea salt, and you've just got a delicious, delicious cookie. They're baked for it says between 10 and 12 minutes. I found with my oven that 11 minutes works best. And then at a 350 temperature, and just take them out and put them aside to let them cool. So again, if you're using the Great Value eggs and the sugars and the flour, whatever you need to use on your budget, it's, again, far better for you than what you're going to find at the store. I know it's a convenience, but I made my dough last night, refrigerated it, had it nice and firm and chilled, and then I just rolled the cookies out into the size that I wanted them to be. And as I was thinking about this, you can add, and a chocolate chip cookie is just a nice basic cookie. You can add so many things to it. You can add walnuts, pecans, any kind of, almonds. I would say you want those probably crushed up a little bit as well. And another thing I thought of, and I'm going to incorporate into the next batch I make of these, is pretzels. So I'll either get this little stick pretzels or just the little small dipping pretzels, crush those up, and add that into the dough as well. So you've got a salted caramel pretzel cookie. And the last thing I have to say about this particular recipe, I found it just to be a little less complicated than a regular chocolate chip cookie recipe that I've used over the years. So it's a pretty simple recipe. Get your dough chilled, and then you're just rolling this into the size that you want, baking between 10 and 12 minutes at 350. And again, just lovely, lovely cookies. These are the end of the of the batch, and they'll take a few minutes to cool. So as always, if you like my channel, please like and subscribe. I'm all about home, doing things at home, doing it yourself, cooking, baking from scratch, anything that really is more of an enhancement to your life than running out and, keeping up with the culture. And it's just been a lovely journey for me to be on, and I like to share that with you as well. So you can do it yourself, bloom where you're planted, make lemonade out of lemons, all those cliches that we've heard. But they truly are empowering. They truly do work. And as always, there is no place like your home. Again, if you like my channel, like and subscribe. Try things for yourself. Maybe just today, do something a little differently. And as always, it just gives you a confidence that you didn't know you had. All right, well, I will see you next time. I'm going to be back at my sewing machine. I want to show you these a doll bed that I used to make for my nieces. So they are grown with their own children. So I'm talking, at least 40 years ago, what I came up with in using a shoebox to make a doll bed. So I have my fabric, and I'll be back. Alrighty, well, you have a lovely weekend. As always, thanks for your time. If you like my channel, like and subscribe, make your comments, leave your comments, share, and I will see you soon.